All right then. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing an interview with Erik uh, Gebhardt. Is that your name correctly, sir? Sir,
Gerhardt.
who is a senatorial candidate for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the year 2022. Uh, and thank you for having you on here, sir.
Well, thanks for sending me an invite.
It is your sound all right? I'm hearing reverb on your sound on your end.
Is that better?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You sound like though you're in the hallway or something.
Okay.
Okay. So go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Well, my name's Erik Gerhardt. I'm a Libertarian candidate for Senate in 2022. Believe strongly in the Libertarian message and everything that it stands for, with personal responsibility, and then the trickle down effect where, treat somebody the way you want to be treated.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you a question. What makes you want to run for the Senate? I mean, for the Senate this year.
Well, I'd like to be one of the people in there making the decisions and helping put good ideas on the table. I don't want to sit back and be passive and just let these other people get in there and horrible ideas, making horrible decisions, and it's not good for the people of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so what would be your focus coming in if should you be elected? What will be one of your priorities? Do you have a list of priorities that you initiate?
First and foremost, I'd like to start finding ways to end taxes and not continue to take from the people. One of my best ideas, I think, right now is ending the property tax just altogether. Excuse me. But yeah, just think of it this way. If there's a single family and they hit hard times, even just 1 year, and they can't pay the taxes, in certain states, if you can't pay your taxes, they put your house up for sale, and then they use the property. And it's also building equity in having the value of the house. Now, if you take the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000+ from a family every single year, that's $3,000, $4,000 that they could use it every year for other things, repair on the house to keep the house up. It just increases quality of life so much. I'm not saying anybody more than like one person, not one person. If you have more than one house, there should be some kind of a tax, just maybe say like half of what it is right now. Because that's the way you can divide the balance a little bit equally. If you can have the ability to afford multiple houses, you can afford to pay a little bit extra. But that the people who only own one house, it helps them keep it in their family, build equity. They have something they can use to borrow in hard times, upgrades, businesses, all that. I don't see how it's a bad idea in any way, shape, or form. Plus, the government doesn't need any more control anyway. They keep just adding and bleeding it out of the people of America, and I'm just sick of it.
Okay. Well, let me ask you something. Since though you have brought up taxes, what type of tax policy would you would you initiate? Would you have like something like the flat tax, or or something like a lower spending on our quote unquote income tax, or you want a sales tax or asset tax? What type of tax system would you like to see America
flat tax is an option. I'm more for finding ways that the government can fund itself and not take any taxes from people. That's pretty much the end goal, is not taking more and more from the people for failed systems, failed education systems, this, that, and the other thing. The whole libertarian aspect is going to the privatized side where the people are funding the things that they need to do. The education of their children, the money goes to the kids, not the schools and it gets squandered and this, that, and the other. I mean, the kids were just out in the pandemic and learn nothing, but the schools say they don't have any money, but they receive extra billions of dollars that they never got. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Because so you're wanting something back to harken to like how, let me say, the tax system when Andrew Jackson was president, with terrorists was funding the government rather than taxes from the people. Would you, is that something like you would like to harken back to, or
I mean,
that's something?
if there's a way to do it without taking from the people and some kind of investment through the government that they make their own money that they don't need to continue to take. I mean, they did a lot of that with like the land leasing and not the taxing, but the taking from gross income from like natural reserves like oil and such. Like they just keep adding more and more. I mean, they're talking about doing a mileage tax now. Like, how are you going to tell everybody that you have to pay for car insurance, registrations, this, that, and the other thing, and now you got to pay per the mile? Like, that's just crazy.
Right now like that mileage tax, I think that's well, I'm just the interviewer here. I think though that will be a disaster if you tax a person by the mile on each vehicle this person may be driving, and then what happened if the person have children, that child become 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. Well, that person is going to be driving his parents' car. So that's going to add on to another problem, because the child is going to go to work. If we supposed to be in society that's supposed to be talking about self-reliance, and we telling children to go to work, well, that you actually stealing from them.
Yeah.
Doing that.
I mean, I know they're trying this big push for all these electric vehicles and such. I mean, shutting the pipeline down for the gas. I mean, we weren't anywhere near the infrastructure set up to go over to a pure green thing. It still needs to be part gas, part green until they do a huge plan where we can go completely solar or off grid with no waste like coals and stuff like that.
Okay. So Ken, like you tell us about, we know, like in Philly, in parts of Pittsburgh, you having these police brutality cases, police shootings, and Black Lives Matter. What is your opinion? What is your opinion on Black Lives Matter in these riots? What ideas that you had during your presidential campaign that you did a year ago, and in your senatorial campaign, what ideas that you have that would alleviate or stop these or prevent these the police brutality in these riots? What ideas did that you have that would prevent all that, sir?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of little things you can do. I had an idea while I was running for president that it's a socialist idea, but let me explain it to you before you get all crazy, because
no, I ain't get all crazy. I'm all ears for ideas. So
yeah, well, the idea was like when all the new cadets are in the academy learning to be policemen and women, you send them out into the community for community service, like taking like Meals on Wheels. You take the food to the elderly. You get to know your community, so you make a connection prior to just be putting on the job and put in bad situations. And you make friends, associates, this, that, and the other thing. And it helps you do your job. Plus, they get to know you before crazy stuff happens. So there's more give and take. There's more conversation instead of just straight action. I mean, there's time for action, and there's a lot of people that are losing their minds because of just being stir crazy. And it's a hard job to go out there when somebody's already riled up, maybe their girlfriend in a bad situation, their money finances are drying up for some odd reason, started a business, and it got shut down because of the pandemic. I mean, you don't know any of that because they're doing their job by just driving around, stopping people random that are supposedly breaking the laws and stuff like that. But I mean, with like the whole Black Lives Matters movements and such, I mean, there was a lot of instigation on their part as well. I mean, there's a lot of instigation on everybody's part. I mean, there's bad cops too, but when people are going out burning cities down and breaking people's business that they worked their whole lives for, I mean, and then the cops can't do their job because the politicians in certain states just say we're not going to do anything about that. We're going to make laws so you guys get your hands tied. I mean, the situation right now is kind of crazy, and it's all seemed to be fabricated by bad decisions. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want to get out there, so I can give good ideas to address the issue in multiple ways, extra trainings, this, that, and the other thing. I mean, that's why another reason why I like the libertarian principles, because I mean, it all falls back to your being your own individual and personal responsibility. Not, I mean, the people who are criminals and going out and breaking laws are criminals. That's their own personal responsibility, and you have to be responsible for that. I mean, it's catch-22 for both sides. I mean,
right. So let's go back to that police thing that you said. So on your police thing, on your ideas about police brutality and community policing. You're saying though before they put on the badge and swore the oath, you want them first to be out there, be ambassadors to the community, so they can like correct me if I'm wrong. So you want them to be out there, get to know everybody, be a part of these organizations, or be out there before
like you say. I mean, like you say, being the ambassadors for a new generation. I mean, everything's kind of locked up. They have their code of conduct that they follow, and they can break rules too. But like, if you go out there with a good mentality, I mean, it can even go down to the fact that we can keep bad cops off the streets if they go out and serve the community. Allow the people to be able to make comments on their service, their demeanor. I mean, if they're out there just like a spoiled brat, like maybe he's not fit to be a cop because he's going to have tendencies to just go overboard. If you're a good person in the community, and let the community tell them that the cadets are doing good, so that they can get extra accommodations and such like that, so that it puts everything in a better direction than just steady as she goes, like we're doing right now.
Okay. Okay. What about the? I'm continuing on this police thing. That's one of the hot topics of today. What about the police unions and their somewhat control over city government? Certain mayors couldn't really. Certain mayors, certain police commissioners, certain police chiefs couldn't override the power of the police unions when these police unions are actually covering up for the misconduct of certain police officers. How would you sit there in combat some of these police unions that are covering up for these bad officers?
I mean, I'd have to look into all the types of things that they set up as stipulations for each and every. I mean, every area is different. I mean, once you get into the unions, it's almost like its own corporate entity. It's protecting itself, and that's about it. And I mean, yeah, it's protecting the police officers, but pretty much first and foremost, it's protecting the union and everybody that's in it, as every union usually does, even when there's misconduct on the job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To be able to have them kind of adopt new tactics. I mean, I heard one idea floating around that they wanted to train everybody in ground hand to combat jiu-jitsu, which would be more of a locking somebody down so that they can't harm themselves and you, which I'm all for that. But I mean, if you're out there, you got guns, tasers and stuff on you, I mean, that's that much closer that you're getting to that. I mean, then what did they go to the next part? I know they were saying something about disarming police officers, which that's, I think, even worse. Like, I'm more of a gun advocate myself. I say everybody should be able to have the constitutional carry, which they just passed through the PA Senate as something that they would like to pursue. We'll see if Wolf signs the bill into action. I mean, if that goes back to personal responsibility for yourself. I mean, everybody goes out there, has the training and that be necessary to know how to use a firearm properly. And if something happens where there's a mass shooting, hopefully there's one person in the crowd with the training and can stop it before lots of lives are lost. And then it's a citizen issue, not a police issue.
Okay. Well, I was about to go into that. So you're very into this the idea of constitutional carry.
Yes.
Well, okay, then how can constitutional carry will be around persons who are not let's say well, because we noticed what happened to not Parkland. What's that shooting in Florida? I think that was Parkland, right?
There's been so many, it's hard.
Yeah. I'm talking the one that happened about 4 or 5 years ago. I think that was Parkland. I think this happened during when Obama was president. I think around 2016, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like a person like that, or even a Dallas shooting. What happened in Dallas? When somebody when people already know this person was already mentally ill, and how how would you, being an advocate for the Second Amendment and being for constitutional carry, how would you be for that, and also combat the mentally ill and people who have access, who could have potentially do people harm? Because of the Parkland high school shooting, that person had problems, and then the Dallas shooter had mental problems. How would you combat that, tackle on that issue?
Well, I think if I remember correctly, the Florida one had a family member that was concerned. I mean,
right,
could have stepped up and said something to the police to either have the guns removed or at least make it so that he was had some kind of a writing up through the police as a small report. But and then if something did happen, then it could be addressed. I mean, it's like still breaks down to like a personal responsibility thing. I mean, with decentralizing from the government and making it more local so that the people are in charge of things. I mean, I'm not saying people should go roaming around taking people's guns. I'm saying if you see something, kind of like say something like if like a suspicious character might be there. I mean, maybe give a shout out to the cops so that he can be addressed properly before something happens. I mean, you don't know what somebody's thinking up until something happens. I mean, unless you know how to make that thing, like in the Tom Cruise Minority Report, where you're looking into the future to stop things are still going to happen, which hopefully we never get to the part where we're arresting people prior to committing a crime.
Right.
But I mean, crimes, and with the amount of people in the population, is almost an inevitability. I mean, until everybody is taken care of, and mentally and physically and health and stuff like that, there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay, and you're being a libertarian, and if you should you be elected, how would you work with the two dominant parties that are in control of government right now? How would you you as a libertarian, how would you deal with those two factions?
Well, I go through and find as many sheep as I could, get them on my side, and then start making a cloak out of the ones that are the wolves. I mean, it's going to be pretty cutthroat, but I got to stand by my principles and do what I know is right in my heart, and that's how I'm going to have my vote. And I'm going to sway as many people with as much reason as I can give them. Some people can't be reasoned with, and I'll have to expose them for the frauds that they are. If they say one thing and then do another. I mean, that's the only way to do it, is to combat what they're doing is with some hard truth.
All right then. Well, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on to foreign policy. Um, Now I know, Pennsylvania is one of the trading cities, I believe. Pennsylvania is on the river, so in Pennsylvania, so what trade policies that you would support with the outside people, with other countries? How would you approach trade policies?
I mean, with aggression countries that are committing like human rights violations and genocide and stuff like that. I mean, I'd kind of go with the heavy tariffs and the sanctions and stuff, and with the partners who are doing what they need to do and doing what's right for their people. I mean, you lax up the agreements a little bit. I mean, get closer to a true like free trade capitalism, where.
Okay. So, okay, I'm gonna move on to the next question though. So, I'm moving on to the same ballpark of foreign policy. How would you, if how would you deal with certain countries like North Korea, Iran, those in Venezuela? How would you deal with those countries, in Russia and China too, and Cuba? How would you deal with them, especially with North Korea and Iran being the most somewhat, I wouldn't say problematic, but problematic in their regions? How would you, what foreign policy position that differs from the Democratic or the Republican parties that you would have that would help bring a little bit more of a peaceful world within that region? How would you deal with them?
I mean, if Iran and North Korea will start taking care of their citizens the way they should, instead of just kind of running it as like the old Prince of Persia regimes, where it's like there's a king and there's peasants, and you don't have any rights other than you just go by the will and the law. I mean, Iran, with the Iran deal, I don't believe getting back into it so that they can up their nuclear capabilities. I don't think North Korea should be able to get to do the same thing, but it's kind of like a buffer for China for North Korea. Is they're just like the little kid you push out in front to take all the hits, but China's in the back and it's the big bad wolf in the back. They're just using that as like a punching bag so that they take all the heat while they're doing all the dirt. I mean, so I'd be as tough as I could on both of them and all of them, especially if they're committing genocides and such.
Okay, so are you so, like, you're telling me that the Iranian deal was a bad deal, or are you saying that there are parts of it that were bad?
I don't think that they should be worrying about a nuclear capability. I mean, they can have different types of grids set up, and they got plenty of money with the oil under the ground to go green, and they're trillions of dollars in excess, not deficit like we are. I mean, they're set up and poised if the government would do the correct actions to really make their country nice. It's just they choose not to.
Okay. In what will be your policy on what's going on in China with the South China Sea, with the South China Sea issue, when China trying to seize the parts of ocean that's in the between Vietnam and Thailand and in Taiwan? How would your policy will be different from both those other two parties, or similar?
Well, it's the Libertarian NAP rule, the non-aggression principle. I mean, China starts pushing on Taiwan or trying to steal islands and stuff like that and build military bases to get closer so they can do whatever they need and pretty much control the flow of trade through the whole area. I don't agree with that at all. If you're going for like security reasons, like down near Venezuela where they have a lot of pirates and stuff, that would make sense because you're kind of self policing the area so that the trade routes don't get disrupted. I would do a lot of partnerships, if possible, with India, because they're the next biggest threat to anything that has to do with China. And I know they've been putting an economic squeeze on them in their area. They're even squeezing Australia right now. I mean, with India and Australia to get together and start working some deals out where they're shipping materials back and forth between the two, because they're out there on the Asia Pacific side, and try to strike some other deals with some people in the area to circumvent anything that would shut them down. Really haven't given much thought about that other than just the basis of getting everybody try to cooperate a little bit more.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to well, you know what? Let me ask you something about space policy. What is your view on NASA, Elon Musk, Blue Origin? Because back 2 years ago, Donald Trump, the president, Donald Trump, talked about going back to the moon in 2024. And now those since that's no longer part of the on the table anymore. What is your view on American space policy?
We have to be extra diligent and seeing that they don't have any kind of nuclear capabilities with all the satellites floating up there. I mean, I'm sure they're tracking everything as it is. I'm not in any intel groups or anything like that where I'm privy to that information at the moment. But I mean, making sure that the skies stay clear and we don't have to worry about craziness like laser weapons and just starting fires here, there, and everywhere, destroying infrastructure, and just being able to shoot a missile from the outer space down anywhere on the earth. I mean, I don't think that should be something that anybody should really have, but making sure that there's some way to keep an eye on it.
Would you be more favorable of straightening bring more teeth to the outer space treaty that was made in 1967? Would you be more in favor, because that is a UN treaty that was signed in the UN? Would you be more favor to have a treaty that had more teeth in stopping that? Or
I think there needs to be something as of a revision to some of it, as technology and stuff is creeping faster and faster, and the amount of satellites that are up there is increasing exponentially. I mean, they have to put in something to, like you said, add more teeth, beef it up, make sure there's some kind of a way to monitor these things and have it be done with cooperation of everybody around the world. So it's not just U.S. policing everything all over again.
Right. Well, okay, but going back to domestic policy, and we got there's been tension about Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, Wilmington, North Carolina, and there are people trying to seek reparations on that. What is your idea on the idea of reparations and repayment? And
I think it's a can of worms. I don't think that there should be a reparations. It's just going to lead to more inequality. If you're going to give this
really. Okay. Well, so
where does saying, because if you start doing it now, and there's some great big happening where they have the new Asia policy where it's illegal to discriminate against Asians. So when something happens to an Asian community, does everybody owe them reparations for something like that. I mean, you're saying that people are going to be made to be victims instead of being able to. I mean, none of us were alive when these things happened, especially slavery back in the day. I mean, the people who were affected in the Black Wall Street issues, I think there's 3 left, and it almost seems like they're just sowing more division throughout the country. I mean, from what I've seen, there is racism, but it's not as prevalent as everybody makes it out to be. It's like they're just trying to make everybody be racist, and because you're different, you are racist. Like, I'm white, I'm racist. I'm like, I'm not racist. I'm a white guy. I was born that way. Everybody else is born the way they were born. I mean, how is there any difference between any of us? There's really not. We're all on the same planet. We're all trying to live our best lives. Bad things happen, but having a crazy reparations for things that happened hundreds of years ago, I just don't agree with that whatsoever.
Okay. Well, what about Jim Crow? Because there's still laws in the books that has been that's still in the books that has been discriminatory. So how would you deal with those laws that are still in the books that's been made during Jim Crow? And because well, for me, I think government that does people wrong should pay back what they done.
Well,
I think when every time when the government does something heinous to people, I think that they should give back what was taken from them.
if it's the government, I mean, with like the Black Wall Street and such, and that wasn't the government. That was just some people that were pissed off, and it was a very crazy times because we were still fighting with the segregation back then.
Well, Jim Crow laws were primarily, southern states or southern and midwestern states. So do you believe that the state governments should be the ones to pay back the people who they wronged? People, and some of these people are still alive. Jim Crow been quote unquote deceased since the 70s. So are you in favor of that, the making sure that the state government be the ones that will try to alleviate some of the wrongdoings, or at some point, or are you just thinking that we should just
well, I mean, if the government's paying people reparations, it comes out of the taxpayers' pockets. So you're stealing from everybody who's an American citizen to give money back to people who were wronged, not even by the American citizens in the area. It's the same thing with taxes. I mean, maybe you give them some kind of a bereave of paying taxes in the area to get back on their feet, but not giving them physical tender that's going to get disproportionately spent in not the places it needed, and not enough places that's actually going to do a real effect.
Okay, I think you and I have I'm not really pro. I'm not on this pro reparations thing, but I kind of seen the point, because but anyway, the thing I don't think reparations is purely just giving people a check. I think it's more about, whether it comes to many farms, people they pay no taxes, or there's some rebates, or
Well, that's what there should be a discussion about. I mean, right now, I think, what is it? Detroit's running a promotion type deal, let's just say, where they're going to try to pay reparations to people just who were black slave families from generations ago. But I think the numbers of people that they're actually going to actually help is somewhere in the 1,600. And that's like the maximum amount of people they can help with the amount of money that they allotted for reparations. And 1,600 people is not anywhere close enough to all the people through all the generations that can prove that their families were slaves. I mean, there's got to be millions and millions and millions of people across the country. I mean, and there's white people too. I mean, you had the Irish that were slaves up in New York and stuff like that. I mean, it's not just one color. I mean, there was slaves of all different colors, shapes, and creeds all over this country. I mean, is everybody, like I said, is everybody going to get a check, or is it just some certain people? Which it's disproportionate throughout history, that it's just never going to get to the place where it should have gone. It's just going to pretty much go to some bureaucrat who's going to use it for the town or the city and say they're using it, overpay unions to do the work, and then what benefit did you really get? You get a couple new roads paved.
Okay. Well, I kind of somewhat different on your idea about that. I do see your point though, because there will be, there's this, there could be an issue where you have a politician or a bureaucrat or somebody who's behind the scenes, not giving the cash flow. I mean, who's preventing the cash flow from reaching certain people. So I do see your point in that. So okay, well, I think
I'll take this one step farther on the same topic. I mean,
okay.
Dr. Martin Luther King said he had a dream that everybody would be equal and such. I mean, why can't we put in place a policy that would make it equal to everybody? And I'm not saying anybody alive of certain age. I'm saying, why don't we start with the new kids being born every year? We put in some kind of policy, like almost like a baby bond, but not a baby bond. Like my idea was to build solar panel farms all across the country, and for every kid would have a panel dedicated to them, and all the electric that generates and the money that comes in from that generation would go into a fund. So when they turn 18, they get a $12,000 check, and that can be for whatever they want, their dream. This is not my dream. This is my dream for them to have a dream, so they can be whatever they want to be. They want to start a business. They want to have a family. They just need to buy a car. They want to put the down payment on a house. I mean, $12,000, that's a $120,000 house. You need the 10% down just to start. So most people don't have that money saved up. And if they do save because they're smart and money savvy, that's an extra $12,000 for them to benefit themselves to a brighter future.
You kind of sound like you sound like a Green Party candidate I was talking to 2 years ago. Because well, he never went that far, but yeah, what you just said, yeah, that do kind of make sense if you do a baby bond and then having the energy that's being generated, using to fund the children.
Mm-hmm. So I think I did the math on it. Like I called up Tesla and I was like, how much are the solar panels? They said like 5,000. So if you do the math for that, 5,000, there's about 7,000 kids born every year. You're looking somewhere around, I think it was, I was thinking like $30 billion to build 7,000 panels and have them installed. And you do that every year. You dedicate the panels to the kids for, say, a decade. And all those kids, when they turn 18, get their $12,000 check every year. But all the money that you accrue from the electric you generated pays the bills for building all the equipment, and you can cut them a check from all the money and stuff coming in.
Yeah, and you know what, you might be right, because let's say this too though, we can export that too.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm talking about the energy. You can export that to Mexico or Canada. Well, Canada don't have that much sunlight. But
I mean, connected to the power grid, we can easily shoot that over there and get the charge. I mean, you can sell it all over the place. And I mean, building, what is it? Elon Musk is building one of the first giant factories for energy storage down in Texas, where you go. So we do that at every site, maybe 2 sites in every state. Store the energy so we don't have to produce as much, and it spreads the wealth wherever it needs to be.
Right, right, because you can spread you can give that money. The energy to lower to like the third world countries that are you still using more let's say I want to say primitive. That would be a bad
Mhm. No,
connotation.
it's about the same. I mean, they have
Yeah,
not as advanced systems. I
yeah,
mean, we can start building the infrastructure in Mexico, so they have more infrastructure. They can not have to cross the border as much because they're fleeing for their lives from bad situations because they're just jungles and natural disasters happen all over the place. Plus, I mean, it's got to be hot down there because it's hot here.
yeah.
So,
Well, I'm in Texas, so I'm already burning up, and it's almost it's 8 o'clock down here. No, yeah, yeah. It just turned 8:05, so it's still burning up at 8 o'clock. So yeah, so yeah. I like that idea. Just using a baby bond. Let the energy companies or the energy pay for the future generations, so that the future generations can at least build their own, can have at least a leg up in
yeah, exactly. I mean, all the ideas that haven't been thought yet is all going to be from the new generations. And if you can invest in them, you're investing in a brighter future. So,
right,
and the same thing can go for the trickle effect of, say, a child dies. That money would go to homeless veterans and stuff like people who are homeless, where the money can be redistributed back into other areas of need. Mostly just save it for natural disasters, things that you can't plan for, and things that need to be addressed, but there's really not a budget for.
right. Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you something. Well, I'm gonna ask you about this, and I was supposed to talk to you about this a year ago or so. Well,
Okay.
tell me about your experience running for a president. How was that? How was your experience being a candidate?
It was a eye opening experience for me. I mean, I suffer from social anxieties and stuff, so getting out in front of people and having to do speeches and talking was stressful for me. After, like, I'd say my second or third vent, I got my sea legs and started to calm down more, where I could be more natural, more myself. And I mean, of course, I didn't win, but I see everything of it being a victory. It led me to where I'm at now. I met some of the other candidates who were from Pennsylvania running for president. Who Sam Robb, he's the Eastern State Chair now. Who he was running for president while I was, and now he's pretty much in control of the whole. No, Western. He's out west. He's in Pittsburgh. He's the Western State Chair, and I made a lot of connections with people all over the country that get to see all the other people's views from state to state, and gain as much experience as I can to this point now, where I feel I have a very good leg up of getting this nomination and maybe doing some good if I have a courage to get my name out there enough to win.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna ask some more about the Libertarian Party and that in the because I noticed during the 2020 primary or the nomination run, I noticed that there was a lot of nations between the uh, I think is there like three or four factions within the Libertarian Party? There was a classic.
There's quite a few. I mean, you have the Angorists, you have the Volunteerists, you have the Anarchists, you have the Socialists, which I don't even know how they exist in the Libertarian Party, but they do. And then I'm being backed by the Mises Caucus, which is the founder of Ludwig von Mises. He founded the Libertarian Party back in the 70s. He's an Austrian immigrant. He was fleeing Nazi Germany back in the during World War II. He came to America, started the Austrian Economic School, which I didn't realize he built a school, which is actually one of the things I'd like to do, is build a university master craft trade school.
Okay.
And he tried spreading the word about free market capitalism to everybody, and with the Austrian economics. Wrote many of books. The Mises Caucus right now is growing in numbers, but there are there's a bad rap for them right now because they see it as a hostile takeover, where it's a bunch of new, younger generation, but there's a lot of us that are having new ideas, constantly talking about the spread of liberty and everybody being able to just be as free as they want to be. And it's kind of like the old guard of the old people, the old ways of the Libertarian Party are fighting it tooth and nail to just stay alive and be relevant, which I feel everybody's opinion should matter and does matter. And it's more of a team win thing. Like, if the team wins, I win. That's kind of like how my mentality on my libertarianism is like, I'm part of Montgomery County, and there's about 40 of us at the meeting. Everybody gets their turn to speak. Everybody tries to be as respectful as you can. There's always going to be somebody in there that wants it to be their way, but that's not the will of the people, let's say, like the bulk of people. Like, everybody has to have an opinion on it, not just it's my opinion.
Okay. So who do you think is the front runner for the 2024 nomination? Because usually I notice every time the VP candidate is usually the front runner. So are you saying Spike Cohen? So are you seeing Spike Cohen being the?
I've heard some talk of maybe a Spike being in it, whether he's going to be the nominee and having Dave Smith be his VP, or Dave Smith being the candidate and Spike be his VP. That's what I'm hearing right now. Other than that, there may be some familiar faces again. I don't know if Joe might be running again. I think James Ogle out in California is going to probably try again, because I don't know what he's thinking, but he's going to try. I'm not definitely going to do it again. I think I'm going to focus 100% on the Senate run, get some actual experience under my belt.
You went and cut out. You said experience, right?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Your sound kind of dropped on me, so I don't know if I can hear you.
Can you hear me
now? Barely, but not. I don't know if that's your mic or.
I don't know if it's my mic.
Okay, I hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah, I hear you now. I hear you now.
Reset the mute. It just must have.
Right.
It's something.
Right. So you saying you're not going to run in 2024. You just going to concentrate on your Senate and your Senate election and and staying local. Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm doing right now. Like I said, I want to run for the Senate if I can get the experience as a senator. Try to put in some term limits while I'm in there, so that we can get some new blood in there, instead of just a bunch of people who are money hungry and power hungry and already got their hands and already out for the corporations, because we need some real integrity to get back into this government of ours, or there's going to be some consequences, and the people are the ones that are going to pay for it.
Okay. What is your opinion on Justin Amaj? Because he was just.
I'm not sold on him 100% yet. I didn't get to meet him. I know he was just down in Florida for their convention. I'll ask Mike Heiss, the founder of the Mises Caucus, whether what his opinion of him is, because he's pretty good at reading people like that. I don't know if it was more of a, I'm getting kicked out of Congress, let me latch on to the next best thing and try to revitalize my career, or he really feels that way. Like I said, I haven't really gotten a chance to talk with him.
Okay. Okay, because I noticed that there are some people trying to get him to run in 2024, and but I for me personally, I think Spike. Yeah, I'm not a member of the Libertarian Party. I just watch y'all. I just watch politics, and I see how popular Spike is because everybody was trying to get him to be their the vice presidential candidate
Yep.
last year. I saw how wildly popular he was, so I thought, I kind of see him as run your major candidates in 2024 because I think I think what happened post Trump and now with the people being somewhat well, I said ever since 2016 on up till 2024, I see people are being a little more um disappointed, for lack of a better word. Well,
I
I'm,
totally
I'm
agree.
saying
I,
it best.
No, I mean, I think that this whole pandemic thing was kind of like a perfect storm. Everybody got time to really pay attention that they normally didn't have, and it's going to change the outcomes of a lot of races coming in the next few years. Because I mean, people are watching how the Democrats are just doing things that aren't going to be good for the country, and they're spending and spending and spending and borrowing and borrowing. And for infrastructure, I mean, we're already fixing the roads and stuff like that. And is it really for the benefit of us? I mean, I don't see it. They should have been doing this for years. They just kind of hop on what's the next hot topic, say they're going to do something, and they get the chance to do it, and then they do the complete opposite. I think there's going to be a lot more people going for libertarian candidates in the future if we can get more of a leg up, which with Spike being as vocal and present as he is. I mean, he's on Hannity like once a week, so he's making his moves to his ends, and there's going to be a lot of other libertarians, I think, going to be stepping up to fill in the jobs that should have been vacant years ago for all the people who have been there for 40 plus odd years. I mean, they can't last forever. I mean, there's no reason for them to fight so hard to keep their grasp on the power that they have and their ability to pretty much break the law is how I see it. I mean, I was pitching with qualified immunity for politicians, not for police officers back when I was running for president at every event. Because if we don't have integrity in our government, how can the government ever be trusted?
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, it starts at it's a trickle down thing. I don't, and in a better way, with if our government officials can be true to their word and not two-faced like they seem to always be, I think that a lot more things could get done. But as long as they know they can break the law and be able to keep their place because they politically immune from being committed of a crime, I mean, I don't think that should ever be a part of it. I mean, that's just one more reason why they still have their hands out to all these corporations and getting it greased so that they pass bills for the corporations to have all these breaks. I mean, back when taxes were first started, corporations had an 80% tax. That's why they had such great big booms of giant facilities being built with thousands and thousands of workers, because the more you spent, the more you could write off. Now it's dropped down to this 10, 15% or whatever it is they want to do as a minimum. And then we're at somewhere around 30% for corporations. And there's no trickle down to the families that work for them. It's just pretty much you're paid, but you're kind of slave labor all over again. It's just it's craziness. It's just there's got to be a better way than just the way it's going.
Right. I do. Well, I do see after this. I think after. Well, let me say it like this. I mean, I think after 2024, maybe 2028. I think though. I think though you will see a new crop of new leaders that are no longer hitching their wagons to this 1970s worldview of the world. And I think though, because what despite the party, whether the Spike or Tulsi Gabbard, Justin Amaj. I think though I'm talking about across the board politically, across the board. I think though when those people are getting into positions of power, I think though you'll see a better society because I think though I ain't trying to be an ageist, but I think though part of the problem is people are trying to refight the '60s or refight the 1970s, and they're too busy trying to refight trying to settle old scores rather than advancing new ideas or new policies that would help people out. That's why I think though when it comes to the border, we've been talking about that borders thing ever since the '80s or the '90s, and I'm like, well, we still talking about it. You know what I'm saying?
He had a good plan where you secure the border and you have the legal immigration so that you stop the crime part. Because I mean that's another corporation thing too. I mean the sex trafficking and the drug trafficking. I mean, ending the drug war would end the drug trafficking because there would be no purpose for them to bring it here. So why do they continue to fight the drug war? I mean, if you legalize everything to a responsible aspect where natural items like marijuana, let's just start with that one, say that's a medicine, not a drug. It has so many benefits for all kinds of different things, much better than any pharmaceutical can do, but then the pharmaceutical companies are keeping it so that it's not thing. I mean, things should not be politically motivated by what the corporations say. It should be what's the best for the people, and that's how I want to handle my situation when and if I become a senator.
Okay, but do you think though that that same principle that you just laid out, would that be the same way to fight sex trafficking by legalizing prostitution? Do you think though that would help alleviate the sex trafficking issues along the border?
That's a personal choice thing for adults. I mean, an adult that needs to do that or chooses to do that should be able to do that. Children should never have any option that they get their rights taken away. They should just, whatever it is, squish that out at the depths of its heart. I mean, that shouldn't happen anywhere in our country or around the world. I mean, that goes along with human rights violations like genocides and such, because you're taking everything that would have made them who they would have been and just completely destroying it for your own benefit, which it's a horrible thing. It should never happen.
Right. All right, Mr. Gerhardt. I appreciate you for dropping in, and I'm glad I caught up with you. I mean, so I wish you luck in the Senate race, because I think the incumbent is retiring, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Pat Toomey's retiring, and I think right now would be a perfect time for a new young buck like myself to come in here and really make some waves, because I don't know that anybody's going to be voting Democratic, and I don't even know who the Republican candidates are, and I don't think anybody else does. So if I can go in there, do my job, and get out in the community, I think I got a good shot.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna ask you something too. Though, before we leave, do you think though the anti-Trump Republicans, do you think though they might go into the Libertarian Party?
We've seen a few Democrats come into the Libertarian Party. We've seen some Republicans come into the Libertarian Party, but most of them come in here into the Libertarian Party for the principle that the Libertarians stand for, with being responsible for yourself and not taking other people's liberties away.
Okay.
I think that if they're going to be a splinter, it's going to be a splinter from where they're going to try to form their own other party.
I have been noticing that there is I see the Democratic Party splitting. They're already forming a. I think they call the Progressive Party. No, it's not. It's not progressive. They call it something else. Yeah, I see them splitting off. With a Nat Turner who's running for the Senate right now as a Democrat now. I see them trying to split off, and then I see the Trump folks are creating this Patriot Party.
Yep.
I think they're running a candidate in New Jersey and are running a candidate in Florida under Trump's banner, Trump's Patriot Party. So I do see the two parties splitting up for at least for the foreseeable future though.
I think that it's the best for the best. I mean, they've kind of been monopolizing both their sides, and they don't really stand for any real principles that they always say they do. I mean, they just had the Omar Harris just calling Americans terrorists for the actions they've done overseas and stuff, when that's just men and women like you and me going over there and being told what to do. I mean, it's you blaming somebody for trying to serve their nation, and then something's bad happening, and you're trying to help the people of the area. But then again, I mean, supposedly our government was the one that like armed ISIS, so like we're already created our own problems. Now we're just fighting them to end it. I mean, I don't know. I don't like Biden. I don't like any of his policies that he's been putting up with shutting down pipelines in our country, and I don't think any of his foreign policies are going to do anything but sow division in their countries. So it's like, look at them, not us, and then divide us as well against each other. I mean, we need to come together, and the Democrats are good at dividing people. So are the Republicans. I mean, if everybody could reunite under a different banner that was based on good principles, I think we could all move forward and put them both in the past. But they'll never really go away. I mean, there's too much money involved and too much at stake that they're going to fight as hard as they can and make sure that they can stay in charge for as long as they can.
Okay. All right, sir. Though I'm gonna get going, and so I appreciate you for dropping by, Mr. Gerhardt. So,
well, if I get this nomination, shoot me another invite in about 9 months, and we'll do it again.
Oh, of course, I will do that. So y'all don't have a well. Let me ask this one question before we go. So in the party, y'all don't have primaries. Y'all just have nominating conventions.
Yeah. In 9 months, there'll be a convention where the people of the party will nominate who they want to be their candidates for certain positions. Everything from chair of the party up to the nominations for governor and Senate, House of Representatives, all that.
Okay.
I know there's one person running against me right now, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know what the format they're going to use yet. I haven't gotten any information on that, but I'm moving toward. I'd like to have a small debate, not just a you speak, I speak, we vote. But we'll see if they actually go through with that.
Okay then. Well, I wish you luck then in 2022. So anyway, I'm gonna head on off of here, and thank y'all for listening. And we'll be back here in 10 months from now. All right, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you very much. You have a good one.
You too, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, then. This concludes the interview. Like, share, and subscribe. And see y'all next time. I'm out.